Antes, hacer los impuestos significaba usar al mismo preparador que tu familia. Pero, ¿realmente era lo más conveniente? Ahora hacer impuestos es tener un experto bilingüe de TurboTax ideal para ti, que solo presentará tu declaración cuando sea 100% precisa, garantizado. Ahora los impuestos se hacen así. Intuit TurboTax. Consigue un experto ahora en turbotax.com/español. Expertos bilingües solo disponibles con TurboTax Live. Consulta los detalles de la garantía en turbotax.com/garantías.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We explore fascinating topics by taking a deep dive into the source material you've shared with us. Today, we're strapping on our digital armor and venturing into the world of cybersecurity. But this isn't your typical virus scanning, password updating kind of cybersecurity talk. We're going geopolitical.
That's right. What we're really exploring is how the digital world is reshaping global power dynamics. It's no longer just about who has the biggest army or the strongest economy. Cybersecurity prowess is emerging as a critical factor in international relations.
Exactly. And we've got some intriguing sources to guide us on this journey. We'll be tapping into an episode of the Spanish language podcast CB After W, featuring Enrique Cubero. He's a cybersecurity expert with a fascinating background in defense. We've also got some recent news articles from Bitdefender Media, which gives us a pulse on the evolving threat landscape. And to round things out, we'll be weaving in insights from Alberto Rodriguez, one of the organizers of the cybersecurity conference, RUTED.
What's fascinating is that Cubero actually draws a parallel between the current situation and the historical importance of naval power. Just like nations once competed for control of the seas, they're now vying for dominance in cyberspace. But here's the catch. The rules of engagement are completely different.
Okay, I'm all ears. How are the rules different in this new digital battlefield?
Well, for starters, the speed at which things happen in cyberspace is mind-boggling. A Bitdefender Media study found that cyberattacks are now 22% faster than they were in 2023. Imagine trying to defend against an enemy that can move at lightning speed and strike from anywhere in the world.
That's a terrifying thought. It's like trying to play defense against a digital ghost.
It's not just the speed either, it's the growing sophistication of these attacks. The rise of ransomware as a service, for example, is a game changer.
Ransomware as a service, that sounds ominous. What exactly does that entail?
Think of it as a dark web marketplace where cybercriminals can rent out ready-made ransomware tools. This means that someone with limited technical skills could potentially launch a serious attack. And it's not just about holding data hostage for ransom anymore. Disrupting critical infrastructure, manipulating financial markets, even influencing elections, it's all becoming part of the playbook.
So the motives behind these attacks are shifting as well. It's not just about financial gain.
Exactly. The lines are blurring between cybercrime and cyber warfare. Nation-states are getting involved, using cyber attacks as a way to assert dominance, disrupt rivals, or achieve geopolitical objectives.
This makes the whole landscape a lot more complex and dangerous. And speaking of dangerous, what about artificial intelligence? It seems like AI is impacting almost every aspect of our lives, so how is it playing into this cybersecurity tug of war?
AI is a double-edged sword in this context. On one hand, it has the potential to revolutionize defense. Think about AI-powered systems that can detect and respond to threats in real time, far faster than any human could.
That sounds promising. But I'm guessing there's a downside to all this.
The downside is that AI can also be used by attackers to create even more sophisticated and evasive malware. We could see AI-powered attacks that learn from previous attempts, adapt to defenses, and even anticipate countermeasures before they're deployed.
So while AI might help us build stronger defenses, it's also handing attackers the tools to break through those defenses. A never-ending arms race.
Exactly. And this is where the geopolitical dimension gets really interesting. Cubero argues that Europe, in particular, is lagging behind other regions, like the US and China, in developing its own cybersecurity capabilities. He suggests that Europe is overly reliant on foreign technology, which creates a strategic vulnerability.
That's a thought-provoking point. Is he implying that Europe's cyber defenses might be compromised by its dependence on other nations?
He doesn't say it directly, but he does raise concerns about the potential for backdoors and vulnerabilities in foreign-made technology. He also highlights the lack of cooperation and information sharing between countries, which he believes is hindering effective cyber defense.
So, in essence, he's advocating for Europe to step up its game in the cybersecurity arena, to be more self-sufficient and proactive.
Absolutely. He uses a powerful analogy to drive this point home. Imagine you're building a fortress, he says, but you're relying on someone else to supply the bricks and mortar. You have no control over the quality of those materials or whether they've been tampered with. That's the situation Europe finds itself in, he argues, when it comes to cybersecurity.
It's a powerful analogy, and it really highlights the stakes involved. So what does he propose Europe should do to address this vulnerability?
He stresses the need for increased awareness, investment, and cooperation, both at the national and international levels. He believes Europe needs to foster its own cybersecurity industry, develop a more cohesive cybersecurity strategy, and work more closely with like-minded democracies.
He's essentially calling for a paradigm shift in how Europe approaches cybersecurity, a move from being reactive to being proactive and self-reliant.
Exactly. He believes that a strong and independent cybersecurity posture is essential for Europe's economic prosperity, its national security, and its role in global affairs.
This makes me think about the recent news about those massive cybercrime forums that were dismantled. Millions of users engaged in all sorts of illicit activities. Does this tie into Cubero's concerns at all?
It absolutely does. Those forums were essentially breeding grounds for cybercriminals, providing them with tools, tutorials, and even ransomware as a service.
Yeah.
And what's even more concerning is that they weren't just attracting seasoned hackers, they were open to anyone, even those with limited technical skills.
So it's like a digital underworld, where the barrier to entry for cybercrime is getting lower and lower.
Exactly. And this is where Cubero's emphasis on awareness and education comes in. He believes we need to start teaching cybersecurity skills at a much earlier age, not just in universities, but in schools as well. It's about creating a culture of cybersecurity where everyone understands the risks and how to protect themselves.
So he's not just talking about defending against nation-state attacks or organized cybercrime. He's talking about empowering individuals to protect themselves in their daily digital lives.
Exactly. He believes cybersecurity should be viewed as a fundamental life skill in the 21st century, just like literacy or financial literacy. It's about equipping everyone with the knowledge and tools to navigate the digital world safely and responsibly.
That's a great point. It's about empowering people, not just scaring them. But how does he propose we go about creating this culture of cybersecurity? It seems like a massive undertaking.
He believes it requires a multifaceted approach involving governments, educational institutions, businesses, and individuals. Governments need to invest in cybersecurity education and awareness campaigns. Businesses need to prioritize cybersecurity training for their employees, and individuals need to take responsibility for their own online safety.
So it's a collective effort, a shared responsibility.
Exactly. And this is where Cubero's insights about the interconnected nature of cybersecurity become really relevant. He argues that in today's world, everything is connected, and that seemingly insignificant vulnerabilities can have cascading effects.
He used a fascinating example from the defense industry, right? Something about a warship project and hangar doors.
That's right. He talks about how even simple components like hangar doors on a warship need to be secured because of their connection to critical systems. If a hacker can gain control of a hangar door, they might be able to use it to disrupt operations, potentially putting the entire ship at risk.
So he's saying that every link in the chain, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, can be a potential point of vulnerability.
Precisely. And this doesn't just apply to warships. It applies to any complex system, whether it's a power grid, a transportation network, a financial institution, or even a social media platform.
This makes the whole concept of cybersecurity much broader than I initially thought. It's not just about protecting computers and data. It's about protecting the systems and infrastructure that our modern world relies on.
Exactly. And this brings us to a key takeaway from our deep dive so far. Cybersecurity is no longer just an IT issue. It's woven into the fabric of our society, our economy, and our global security.
This is a lot to digest, but it's certainly eye-opening. So we've established that cyberspace is the new battleground, and the threats are evolving at an alarming rate. We've also explored how AI is both a powerful tool and a potential weapon in this digital arms race. But what I'm curious about now is, how are businesses supposed to navigate this complex and ever-changing landscape?
That's a great question. Let's delve into that next. Businesses, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, often find themselves in a precarious position. They might not have the resources or expertise to build Fort Knox-level cyber defenses.
That makes sense. It's easy to imagine large corporations with dedicated cybersecurity teams. But what about the average business owner who's juggling a million things already? How do they even begin to wrap their heads around all this?
Cubero acknowledges this challenge. He compares investing in cybersecurity to investing in physical security measures. You wouldn't leave your shop doors unlocked at night, right? Cybersecurity should be viewed in the same light as a necessary investment, not a luxury.
So it's about taking a proactive approach rather than waiting for a digital break-in to happen. But isn't that easier said than done? Where do businesses even start?
It starts with understanding the risks. What kind of data does your business handle? What systems are essential for your operations? Who are your suppliers and how secure are their practices? Once you have a grasp of your vulnerabilities, you can start implementing security measures.
I'm assuming he's not suggesting every business needs to hire a team of cybersecurity experts.
Not necessarily. He emphasizes the importance of basic security hygiene. Things like strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, keeping software up to date, and training employees to spot phishing scams. These are all relatively inexpensive measures that can significantly improve your security posture.
So it's about starting with the fundamentals,
Yeah.
the digital equivalent of locking your doors and windows.
Exactly. And he also suggests exploring free or low-cost resources that are available. Government agencies like the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency here in the U.S. offer a wealth of information and guidance on cybersecurity best practices. You'd be surprised how much valuable information is out there for free.
That's good to know. But I'm curious, what about regulation? Does Cubero believe governments have a role to play in enforcing cybersecurity standards?
He does. He points to the EU's NIS2 directive as an example of how legislation can push companies to take cybersecurity more seriously. These regulations establish minimum security standards that businesses must meet or face penalties. It's like a fire code for the digital world. It's there to protect everyone.
So a bit of a nudge from the authorities could be helpful in raising the bar for cybersecurity across the board.
Precisely. He believes that regulation, combined with awareness and education, can create a more robust and resilient cybersecurity ecosystem.
Okay, so we've talked about the threats, the geopolitical implications, and how businesses can start protecting themselves. But there's one element we haven't explored in detail, the people, the human factor. We're all using these technologies, making decisions that can impact security, and sometimes making mistakes. Where does the human element fit into all of this?
The human element is arguably the most unpredictable and often the weakest link in the cybersecurity chain. Even with the most sophisticated technology in place, a single click on a phishing link or a weak password can bring the whole system down.
So how do we address this? How do we bridge the gap between human behavior and cybersecurity?
Cubero emphasizes the critical role of education and awareness. He believes that cybersecurity training shouldn't just be for IT professionals. It needs to be integrated into the workplace culture, from the CEO to the newest intern.
So everyone in the company needs to be on the same page when it comes to cybersecurity. No more forwarding suspicious emails or using password 123.
Exactly. He suggests making cybersecurity training engaging and relevant to people's roles within the company. And it's not just about avoiding mistakes, it's about empowering employees to be proactive, to report suspicious activity, and to be part of the solution.
This makes me think about the battle for talent that we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
If the demand for cybersecurity professionals is so high, are we doing enough to nurture that talent pipeline?
That's a great question, and it's something that Cubero is passionate about. He believes we need to start early, incorporating cybersecurity concepts into school curricula and encouraging young people to explore careers in this field.
So instead of just teaching kids how to code, we should also be teaching them how to code securely, how to think like a defender from the ground up.
Precisely. He believes that by fostering a new generation of cyber-aware individuals, we can not only address the talent shortage, but also create a more secure digital future for everyone.
I like that idea. It's about shifting the mindset from reaction to prevention, from fear to empowerment. But I have to ask, are we fighting a losing battle here? With the threats constantly evolving and attackers becoming more sophisticated, can we ever truly stay ahead of the curve?
That's a question that plagues many cybersecurity experts. The reality is that we'll likely never achieve perfect security. It's a constant arms race, with attackers and defenders continually trying to outmaneuver each other. But that doesn't mean we should give up.
So how do we approach this? If complete security is an illusion, what's the best strategy?
Cubero believes it's about embracing a mindset of continuous adaptation and resilience. He encourages businesses to view cybersecurity not as a destination, but as a journey, a process of constantly evaluating risks, adapting strategies, and learning from both successes and failures.
This reminds me of something Rodriguez, the conference organizer, mentioned. He said, the best way to prepare for the future of cybersecurity is to embrace the unknown. I'm not sure if that's reassuring or terrifying.
It's probably a bit of both, but I think Rodriguez is right. We need to be prepared to face new and unforeseen challenges. We need to be flexible, adaptable, and always willing to learn.
So it's about accepting that the goalposts are constantly moving, that there's no silver bullet, and that we need to be constantly evolving our approach to cybersecurity.
Exactly. And this brings us to another crucial point, the importance of collaboration. Just like Cubero emphasizes the need for international cooperation, Rodriguez stresses the importance of collaboration within the cybersecurity community.
So it's not just about countries sharing intelligence. It's about businesses, researchers, and individuals working together to share knowledge and best practices.
Precisely. Conferences like RUTED play a vital role in fostering this collaboration. They bring together experts from different sectors, countries, and backgrounds to discuss the latest threats, share insights, and learn from each other.
It sounds like a digital version of those war rooms you see in movies, where everyone's huddled around maps and screens, trying to stay one step ahead of the enemy.
It's not quite that dramatic, but there is a sense of urgency and shared purpose. These gatherings are crucial for staying ahead of the curve and developing collective strategies to address emerging threats.
But given the scale of the challenge, the rapid pace of technological change, and the ever-evolving nature of the threats, it's easy to feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
What can the average person do to make a difference?
That's a question that everyone should be asking themselves, and it's something that Cubero addresses directly. He believes that individual actions, no matter how small, can have a ripple effect.
So it's not just about governments and corporations. It's about individuals taking ownership of their own cybersecurity.
Exactly. He encourages individuals to think of cybersecurity as a form of digital citizenship, where we all have a responsibility to contribute to a safer and more secure online world.
This brings us back to the idea of creating a culture of cybersecurity. It's not just about technical skills, it's about changing mindsets, raising awareness, and empowering people to take action.
Precisely. And this brings us to another key takeaway from our deep dive. Cybersecurity is not just about technology, it's about people. It's about our behaviors, our choices, and our collective responsibility to protect ourselves and each other in the digital realm.
I like how you frame that. It's about moving beyond the fear and the jargon and empowering people to become active participants in their own digital security. But let's be honest, technology is still a huge part of this equation. We've talked about AI and how it's changing the game for both attackers and defenders. Are there other technological advancements that are shaping the future of cybersecurity?
Absolutely. One area that's rapidly evolving is the field of quantum computing. While still in its early stages, quantum computing has the potential to revolutionize many fields, including cybersecurity.
Quantum computing. That sounds incredibly complex. I'm vaguely familiar with the concept, but how does it relate to cybersecurity?
Quantum computers have the potential to break the encryption algorithms that we currently rely on to secure our data.
Wait, so all those passwords, financial transactions, sensitive information that we think is secure, it could all be vulnerable to quantum hacking.
That's a concern that cybersecurity experts are grappling with. But it's not all doom and gloom. The cybersecurity community is actively working on developing new encryption methods that are resistant to quantum attacks.
So it's another arms race, but this time with quantum technology at the forefront.
Exactly. It's a fascinating and rapidly evolving field. And while quantum computing might seem like something out of science fiction, it's something that we need to be aware of and preparing for now.
This is a lot to process, but it's incredibly important to stay informed about these advancements. So we've explored the evolving threats, the geopolitical implications, the role of businesses and individuals, and even peeked into the future with quantum computing. But I'm wondering, are there any concrete steps that listeners can take right now to improve their own cybersecurity?
Absolutely. And it's surprisingly simple to start. One of the most effective things you can do is to enable two-factor authentication on your accounts. This adds an extra layer of security, making it much harder for attackers to gain access to your accounts even if they have your password.
Two-factor authentication. I've seen that option on a lot of websites, but I always thought it was too much hassle. Is it really that effective?
It's incredibly effective. Think of it like having two locks on your door instead of one. It makes it exponentially more difficult for someone to break in. And most modern websites and apps make setting up two-factor authentication quite easy. It's usually just a matter of clicking a few buttons and following the instructions.
Okay, so enabling two-factor authentication is at the top of the list. What else can people do?
Another important step is to be mindful of the information you share online. Be cautious about clicking on links or opening attachments from unknown senders. Avoid using public Wi-Fi networks for sensitive transactions, and regularly update your software and operating systems to patch security vulnerabilities.
So it's about being cautious and aware of your digital surroundings.
Exactly. And it's about taking a proactive approach to your own cybersecurity. You wouldn't leave your front door open, would you? The same principle applies online.
That's a great analogy. It really puts things into perspective. But with all this talk about cyber threats and vulnerabilities, it's easy to feel like we're living in a digital dystopia. Is there any reason for optimism in this cybersecurity landscape?
I believe there is. While the challenges are real and significant, I'm constantly inspired by the ingenuity and resilience of the cybersecurity community. People are coming together, sharing knowledge, and developing innovative solutions to protect our digital world.
So it's not just about the technology. It's about the people who are working tirelessly to secure our digital future.
Exactly. And I believe that as long as we have passionate and dedicated people working in this field, we can face the challenges ahead with optimism and a determination to create a more secure and resilient digital world.
That's reassuring to hear. It's easy to get caught up in the doom and gloom headlines, but it's important to remember that there are people out there fighting the good fight, pushing back against the darkness.
Absolutely. And I think that's a crucial takeaway from our deep dive today. Cybersecurity is not just about technology, it's about people, collaboration, and a shared commitment to creating a safer digital world.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We started by exploring the evolving threat landscape, those digital ghosts moving at lightning speed, and how nation-state actors are blurring the lines between cybercrime and cyber warfare.
We also discuss how artificial intelligence is a double-edged sword, capable of both bolstering defenses and empowering attackers. It's like a constant chess match, with each side trying to anticipate the other's moves.
And we can't forget Cubero's compelling argument for Europe to bolster its cybersecurity posture, to become less reliant on foreign technology and more proactive in its defense strategies. He really drove home the point that cybersecurity is now a matter of national sovereignty and global power.
Yeah, his analogy of Europe building a fortress with someone else supplying the bricks and mortar was particularly striking. It makes you realize how vulnerable a nation can be if it doesn't have control over its own digital infrastructure.
Absolutely. And it's not just about nations. We talked about how businesses, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, need to view cybersecurity as a necessary investment, not a luxury, starting with basic security hygiene, leveraging free resources, and fostering a culture of awareness within their organizations.
Right, and we explored the often overlooked human element, how even the most advanced security systems can be compromised by a single click on a phishing link or a weak password. Cubero's emphasis on education and awareness, on empowering individuals to become digital citizens, really resonated with me.
Yeah, it's about making cybersecurity a part of our everyday lives, not just something we delegate to IT departments or government agencies. We all have a role to play in creating a safer digital world.
Absolutely.
And as technology continues to advance at a breakneck pace, we discuss the potential impact of quantum computing, how it could disrupt current encryption methods and force us to rethink how we secure our data.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that the cybersecurity landscape is constantly evolving, that we can't afford to be complacent, and that we need to be prepared for the unknown. It's a bit daunting, but also exciting in a way. It's like we're on the frontier of a new digital age, with all its challenges and opportunities.
I think that's a great way to put it, and it brings us back to the main takeaway from our deep dive. Cybersecurity is not just about technology, it's about people, collaboration, adaptation, and a shared commitment to creating a safer digital world.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one piece of advice, the most important takeaway that you would leave our listeners with?
If I had to distill it down to one thing, it would be this. Be proactive, not reactive. Don't wait for something bad to happen before you start thinking about cybersecurity. Take those simple steps today. Enable two-factor authentication. Be mindful of what you share online, and stay informed about the latest threats.
It's about empowering yourself, taking control of your own digital security, and becoming an active participant in the global effort to create a safer and more resilient digital world. It's a challenge, but it's a challenge we can face together.
Well said. And remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand about cybersecurity, the better equipped you'll be to protect yourself, your business, and your loved ones. So stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe out there.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of cybersecurity. We hope you found it informative, thought-provoking, and maybe even a little bit empowering. Until next time, stay vigilant and keep exploring.